It was wrong, and I am sorry.
As we'll see tonight, this is a family still grappling with the truth of what happened more than 2 decades ago.
What's up, y'all? Welcome back to the channel. So this clip I just shared with you guys is about a story that I remember hearing about when I was growing up. Like, I was all over this case as a child. And as a child, I thought it was the most romantic story ever. But as an adult, I was like, oh my God, I would have been Vili, but like with a, you know what I mean, with a male teacher or something. Like, this is why kids should not be in these kind of situations. This is why adults have to act like adults, right? Okay, so who am I talking about? This is Kay Letourneau. And the reason I was like, I'm going to cover this is because I keep seeing videos about this relationship, this situation popping up, old interviews, everything. And I'm like, why is this all of a sudden relevant today? And now I found out that there's a new movie that just came out called May December, and it's about their relationship. We definitely will be watching this movie, and I will have like a reaction to the movie. But either way, he's not happy about the movie. And this is why Kay Letourneau and Vili are being talked about again today. So this whole situation, Kay Letourneau goes perfect with our genre, if you will, of female wrongdoers. We'll use that word because there's certain words you're not allowed to use on YouTube. So female wrongdoers, will go with that. Because this lady had to have a problem, right? Something was certainly wrong with her, but still in a way where it's not for pity, okay? Let's be very clear. It's not for pity I'm saying this. I'm saying this as in, like, you can't be normal and act like this at all. Like, you just can't. And when you watch the interviews that she would do with Vili later on in life, you could feel the tension, especially the older he got, the more and more tense it seemed like the situation was getting. But we'll get into that. So why don't we go ahead and talk about the whole Kay Letourneau and Vili Fualaau situation. You haven't heard of Kay Letourneau or Vili Fualaau. Kay Letourneau was Vili Fualaau's like 7th grade teacher. When he was 12, she initiated a relationship with him. No matter how many interviews you'll find where she said that he was the perpetrator, she was the adult, okay? So you were supposed to stop that, okay?
There was a moment where he said that he did say he was in love with me. And it scared me.
Now, let's just go ahead and get into Kay Letourneau and her background story. Kay Letourneau was born in 1962 in California to parents Mary and John Schmitz. Okay, so when Kay Letourneau was born, her father was a professor at a college. When she was born, she was born into a Catholic family. Everybody makes a point to stay on this part of it. Like, she was a Catholic, she was a conservative, she was a Catholic. All right, fine, she was a Catholic. Okay, big whoop-de-doo. So she was a Catholic and born into a Catholic family, very conservative. The father was in the right, kind of like the right-wing movement. And he started his own political career as a senator. So the father in 1982 had to resign as senator when the news came out that he had a relationship with one of his students and fathered a few children with this person. Her parents had broke up for a little bit apparently, but then they got back together. So that's a staple situation, right? Almost a foreshadowing, if you will, of later events to take place. While she was attending college, she met Steve Letourneau. She was Mary Schmitz. She met Steve Letourneau. They got together and then they finally got married. But there's some reports, like her friends said that they were shocked that she was with somebody like him. They felt like he wasn't good enough for her. And they were like, how do you even like this guy? Like, this doesn't make any sense. They had 4 children together. And they were, they were still together. They stayed together. Their marriage, obviously they stayed together for a while, but not forever, right? But, their marriage did suffer like financial issues. And both of them actually apparently were cheating on each other. Now, people would go on later to say that she suffered emotional, mental abuse from him. Her friends would say stuff like that too. So that's what they reported. All right. So now let's get into Vili. Now with Vili, it's a little different with him trying to get into his background. There's not as much information on his background, because when you look his name up, it just goes straight to the scandal. The most they tell you really is that he was born on June 26, 1983. I mean, you can find some stuff to find out. Like if you're watching a movie or watching a documentary, you will find out like, okay, he was born into a family where they had their struggles. You know, he's Samoan. They had their own financial struggles. And I think there were like a lot of people in the house and everything. So perfect target really to give a child attention and then kind of take it to somewhere else, right? All right, so this is the kind of background of the people that we're talking about. Now, Vili, Mary Kay Letourneau apparently was his teacher when he was 7 in the 2nd grade, right? I didn't know that, okay? And later on, like there's interviews where, in fact, she says that she first heard his name in 1988 and she knew the Fualaau.
The first time I was familiar with the name Vili Fualaau, gosh, I don't know, 1989, 88, not sure.
Was that when you were here, his year 2 teacher?
He was one of my students back then. I hardly remember. Of course, I remember his name. So, and I knew the Fualaau family.
Wait a minute. So like to me, I'm like, so if you first heard of him 1983 to 1988, that means he's 5 years old, right? So, and you knew these people already, right? So what was going on? You know, these kind of thoughts, they start early with people with these issues, okay? But we'll get there. But it was when he was her 7th grade student at the age of 12, she claims that he started making advances towards her. Now, again, it doesn't matter who did what to who. You're the adult, you stop it, right? If so-called this is happening. And, you know, we'll look at some interviews, right, where she's talking about this and still trying to romanticize it like it's a good thing. Okay, Vili says that she was making those advances towards him. Either way, those two came up with the perfect plan to have Vili befriend her 12-year-old son so he could start sleeping over. Okay. One day, it's told that, you know, they were all like hanging out in the house, whatever, you know, they had to sleep over or whatever. And in the morning, her husband saw her and Vili sleeping together, like, you know, he fell asleep on the couch or whatever. And he went off and he was like, I better never see this again. Me, I would have been like, get out. Nope, no, this is different. This isn't like I just caught you with at least an 18-year-old. Oh, remember, by then she was 34. Okay. It's not like I caught you with at least an 18-year-old, and I still would have a problem with that. That's a 12-year-old boy, right? I would have been like, you gotta go. No, oh, this is a whole different territory. I want nothing to do with you. Furthermore, you're not gonna bring these problems here. I'm not going to jail for you. That would have been my thing. But anyway, whatever. So apparently they worked through that, whatever that means. Now, what happened was in 1996, and June 18, 1996, to be clear, they were found in a car together. I guess back then, like cops used to be on top of the details. And so they were found in a car committing, I guess, lewd acts. But when the cops was coming up to them, she hurried up and jumped to the front seat, told him to act like he was sleeping in the back. The cops were like, what's going on here? She lied about his age and false identification. The cop took them in, called Vili's mother and kind of was like, you know, what do you want us to do or whatever? And remember, she knows them. She's been knowing them, I guess, all his life, you could say. I mean, 1988. So the mother was like, just send him, give him right back to her. And like, they could just come home. But the mother later on would say like, oh, if I would have known she lied about his age, I would have told him, you know, I would have never allowed him to return back to her. Does it matter? Like your son was still okay. He lied about her. She lied about his age. Your son was still in the car. She was in the car with your son, and it looked like they were doing weird things. That's it. Don't come over here no more. At least attempt that, right? Okay. But then later on, one of Steve Letourneau's relatives called the cops and said that Mary was still basically doing her thing. And in March 1997, she was arrested and found to be about 6 months pregnant. Okay. She had the first baby in jail. The baby was born May 29, 1997. Okay. So now she gets convicted, and the courts take it so easily on her. they say that, like, you know, you have a problem and I think you need treatment. And so they give her like 6 months in jail, and then like she had to go to treatment. Okay. And you know, if it was a man, that would not have happened. Like, we all know it wouldn't have happened. So don't act like it would have, because it wouldn't have happened. Okay. Then she gets caught again with him, right? Because she's supposed to, after she gets out of jail, she's actually supposed to not have any contact with kids or anything. She gets caught again with him, and then claims that, oh, you know, like, they didn't tell me that I wasn't going to be able to have contact with my children. So I feel like I was ready to go to jail anyway, just so I could clear my name and have contact with my children. But it's still like, that's not who they caught you with. They caught you with him, right? So it's a bit much. And then she gets arrested again. She gets arrested in February 1998. And while in jail, she's found to be pregnant again. Mind you, when she gets arrested again, she's like, oh, no, like, you know, we were just, you know, talking, or, you know, all the lies. And then she gets found to have, you know, be pregnant again. And she has her second daughter for Vili in October 1998. And she went on to serve 7 years. Now, while she was in jail, she would do these weird things, like she would write Vili letters and stuff, and she would get caught writing him letters. And what's funny is that the news media or whatever, they would report about this, and then they would read the letter out loud on the television. So I'm like, okay, so they try to intercept that that letter, and you still read it on television. So he still gets to hear the letter. That's still ridiculous, but you know, the media doesn't care. They love anything salacious, right? So anyway, but she's talking to him on the phone and stuff, and she's also telling him that before he's 18, like, you know, I mean, I want you to live your life, like, you know, you can't be worried about me. You know, you're supposed to find somebody else, get married and everything. But if you married me, I would get out of here earlier. So it's still like this influence on this child, right? So, and this is an adult, you know, so they know how to influence a kid. Like, I mean, I don't want you to be with me, you know, because you should be with somebody else. But, you know, I'm just saying, if you were with me, though, I could get out here easier. But do you, though? Do you? I'm not mad. Just do you. But I'm just saying you could help me out, right? So, and that's a child. The child's manipulated. I can only imagine that there were other conversations. Like, I mean, you know, we do have children together. It's going to be a lot for me when I get out or whatever. But look, I want you to do you. You know, you have a right to have a childhood that I don't want to take that from you. You know, that's how people talk. So Mary Kay finally comes out of jail and she marries Vili, right? They end up getting married. And then it's just like, you think the story's over, but it's not. Now, while Mary Kay Letourneau was in jail, Vili went through it. He went through alcoholism, depression. He dropped out of high school. The family tried to sue, I guess, the county, saying that they should have protected him more from her. Cops should have did more. Somebody else should have did more. And now look at his life. They didn't win that case. You were supposed to protect your son. Remember, we called you. We said, what do you want us to do with your son right now? Give him back to the woman? Okay, yeah, we're never going to win that one. Mary Kay Letourneau will end up, they actually ended up breaking up in 2019, right? And then in 2020, she did say that she had cancer. You know, she got in touch with him. And so he did go back to her, and he was by her side to the very end. Story over, right? But for me, it's like going back and looking at this and looking at some of the interviews that I never did watch, because after I heard they got married, I kind of left that story alone because I still was kind of young, you know, thinking like, oh, okay, well, now they got married, they could be together now, right? Like, no, okay. You will see in these clips, she was not only the aggressor, she molded that child, because I can't use the other word, to do what she wanted to do. You know, what she wanted him to do. I mean, there's clips where you'll see she's saying like, you were the aggressor, right? You were the aggressor. And he's like, this is weird. This is weird.
You were the adult.
You can say that. I was by age.
And by
Just
maturity.
You maybe. But you don't know him.
No, but I don't need to know him in this discussion. He's the child. I'm talking about you.
Who was the boss?
What was his name?
Who was the boss?
What?
Who was the boss back then?
You know, there was me pursuing you.
Who was the boss back then?
This is ridiculous.
No,
This is ridiculous.
Who was?
Just say.
Who was the boss?
All I knew was what I knew back.
But who was the boss?
He was 13, Mary.
But who was the boss?
It's just getting weird.
Who was the boss? Who?
I'm pursuing the relationship.
Who was the boss?
Well, I was the pursuer.
Yes.
Mary, even as you're
But-
hearing this now, come on, he was 13.
Doesn't matter.
He's tense when talking to her about what happened, or like interviews and everything about what happened, because now at this point, some of these interviews are like right before she died, like you could say like maybe 2 years before she died. He's older now. He's in his 30s, and he's probably thinking like, yeah, this, what happened to me? Really think about it. Like, what happened to me? Like, and then everybody thought that this was an okay thing. And there was interviews and they said that it wasn't her fault. And I guess because I was the man, I'm automatically the aggressor. Like, no, like, I mean, this person molded my thoughts. I mean, you could feel like that's what he's thinking. I mean, to me, that's what I'm seeing he's saying in his mind. And that's basically the crux of the situation, right? I mean, this is basically, I mean, it's concluded, if you will. She got away with a lot. I mean, she had movies, she wrote books, everything. Like, this lady should have been vilified and shamed. She should have been. The family even had moments where they were like, oh, we know Mary, she's a good person and she really loves him and we care and she cares. And everybody just congratulated her and rewarded her for her twisted behavior. And if you think about it, when you look at these interviews, she felt very entitled, like it was her right to get into the situation. And she's very meticulous with her answers. Like, well, I didn't know this was going to happen. So along the way, it's like, well, one step at a time. And I still didn't know until somehow, I'm in the position where, I'm in that position. You know what position I'm talking about. That is very manipulative. And like I said, only a woman could get away with it. Only a woman. Come on, y'all. We know it's only a woman who could get away with that.
Nobody did a press release here in the state of Washington or in California, where I was from, and said, we have now changed the laws. It is no longer gender specific, a male only. When I grew up, sure, as a teenager, I knew that, if that male, the males knew.
Because society actually high fives. Billy probably, like, when this happened, I know his boys probably were like, giving him high fives, because there was a story that he was saying back when he was 12 that he had bets with his friends, like, I bet you I could, sleep with her, and of course they do an interview where he's like, they're talking about this and he's like, I don't really want to get into that, because now he's older. So he realizes, like, somebody should have stopped me, and she's like, come on, tell this story. Like, she's all hype. And he's looking like, it's kind of weird. Like, I don't want to talk about, like, thinking about it now. It's kind of, because it's triggering him, because all he's thinking is, yeah, it was normal then. I was the kid, but you weren't supposed to go along with it. That's why I was a bet in the first place.
Like, not really like good memories, but some of them are just random, just pretty much random stuff. In the closet, there was a closet in the in the classroom, and then me and my friends, we used to be in there hiding in the classroom.
From Mary?
Why don't you say what you were doing hiding in the
We were
closet?
just hiding in the closet.
No, what did you tell me you were doing?
That's weird to talk about right now.
This is what you said to me is like, yeah, we'd hide in the closet and we'd hope you'd walk past so we could look under your skirt. I'm like, what the heck? I mean, who's like tells like years later? Is that what you told? It is what you told me. Mm-hmm.
Does that make you feel better?
What does he remember? That's what he told me he remembered. I'm like, wow.
Yeah, right.
Wow, I had no idea.
I mean, and like I said, even with her saying to him, you were the aggressor, right? You were the aggressor, right? Like, talking to him like that, I'm like, okay, you're still doing it. And he's still like, because he's a man, so he's trying not to, he's like, come on, all right, chill. And she's looking like, you better say it. And he finds a way to kind of say it, right? But wow, I mean, wow. She took his childhood. Now, she took his childhood straight up. Okay, so what makes a person do this? Now, this person obviously has borderline personality disorder to the fullest, right? Now, when I was younger, I heard rumors, and there was like this older movie about this called All American Girl, the Kay Letourneau story or something like that, where they insinuated that dad might have been a little close to Mary Kay. I don't know if that's true or not. That would be alleged, but it wouldn't be far-fetched, because now this is an explanation. It's still not an excuse for her behavior. Be clear. It's not an excuse for her behavior, but that, a lot of times what predates these personality disorders is some sort of relationship foundation that is supposed to be grounded in, there's supposed to be a strong moral foundation, but in fact, it got derailed somehow. And so now the person ends up having this warped relationship dealings with other people, right? So let's say dad did, give a little too much hugs. You know what I mean? This person now is being molded by the thought that like this is okay. But they know it's not. They know it's not. And like this is how you get attention and this is how you get love, right? So now the rest of the relationships kind of go there. Like it starts to warp the person. This is how you mess up kids and you make messed up adults, basically. And so this is where borderline personality disorder could come from. I mean, because you have to have a disorder. Again, explanation, not excuse, right? And so, but just looking at that, and then the fact that Kay Letourneau never said she did anything wrong. She made sure not to say, she made sure to shy away from certain questions. She did the whole bit, right? And the fact that you never came to terms and said, I was wrong for what I did. Or maybe she did. Maybe at the very end, I wasn't there when she died. Maybe she did. But for the most part, she didn't. So you have to have your mind worked out a certain way where you block the negativity of what you did, but you never take accountability. And then you have 2 kids with this person. So that even protects you in not thinking about it as a bad thing, because you could always run back to that. Like, but my children are here, so this was meant to happen, which is true, right? Listen, the kids didn't ask to be here. And now they're older and everything. Like, yeah, of course, nothing wrong with that with the kids. But it still doesn't change the fact that you did something wrong. And so there's a way to come to terms with that. What was supposed to happen technically is that you were supposed to come out of jail and not pursue a relationship or even keep talking to this kid while you were in the jail, telling them, hey, you should marry me and things, could be better for me. So it's just sad to think about what this child went through, who grew up as a man in the spotlight for this relationship, for the only relationship that he knew. Because this isn't normal, right? Like, be clear. This is not how people are supposed to get together and be with each other, right? It's not normal. So what happens to him? Now, I don't know, man, he's a strong guy because he seems stable as far as like his kids, they love him. He's about to be a grandfather. Now, he did get into another relationship and he just had a baby. A little girl, I think it was like last year, right? So I'm glad for him for that. I hope that he's okay enough where like that was a part of his life where he takes it for what it is, appreciate the good times because you might as well just go ahead and do it. But understands that this should never happen again to anybody else. And then he said in a lot of interviews that they're very strict about who their daughter dates and everything. And when he says it, right, in the interviews, when he was saying it, I understood him like, yeah, I'm sure he is strict because why would he want number 2? When she talks about it, I'm like, you're just superficial and crazy. Though her children do say they love her. The 2 girls, they talk about her and they do say, I miss my mom and I love my mom. So, hey, but it still doesn't change the fact of what happened. Now, the May December movie, I'm going to have to watch that, right? So I'm going to watch that and I'll let you guys know, or let me know in the comments if you want to know how it was. But I did need to bring the story to you because borderline personality disorder can be a catalyst for so many different problems, so many different stories that we hear. And I thought this was very interesting that her story came popping back up on the scene again after she's already passed away and everything. So I was like, I want to cover it myself too, because when I tell you I was all over this story, and the thing is, like I said, as a child, I was like, oh my God, he loves her. But I was 12 too, like, like I was 16 too when I was hearing more about it. Like, so that's how kids think. And then at 40, you're like, like somebody should have fought her, like something, right? But it's just crazy to think about it like today and how much she got away with and got accolades and everything for it. And so we live in a society where, yeah, we do reward borderline personality disorder a little too much, in my opinion. But you let me know what you think. Thank you for watching. I'll see you guys at the next video. Bye.